What's up, everybody? Welcome into another edition of Crush City Territory. My name is Chandler Rome. Tyler Stafford's here, and we have the most special guest that you can have. We have Astros manager Joe Espada joining us. Joe, we're recording this on a Friday, so you're gonna head to West Palm Beach within the next 3 days. We understand that this is probably one of the busiest times of year for you, so can't thank you enough for taking a little bit of your time to talk with us. What is, I guess, as you're preparing to go to spring training, how hectic are things right now?
They're busy. They're busy. Consumed by, it's like spring training planning, right? We have pitchers or catchers already joining us in the next couple of days. Some of them out there already, so trying to get some of those things lined up. Working through some meetings that we do prior to the workouts with the front office, go over our players. So it's busy, and I make trips to the ballpark, and we have between 12, 15 players there at times where they're training, getting ready for the season. So it gives me an opportunity to start some conversation with the players and start talking about the 2025 season. So, I'm leaving Monday, and I'm excited. I can't wait to get down to West Palm.
You mentioned you're going to the ballpark. I don't know that you guys wanted it out there, but there's been some videos from the ballpark circulating in the last week or so, watching obviously Jose Altuve out in left field. And we don't want to make this solely about that, but in general, can you give us a vibe, kind of what does go on at the ballpark and what guys are there, kind of what you guys are doing leading into going to West Palm?
For example, today we had 5 live BPs, right? So pitchers are already stretched out where some of the guys who will start pitching in first game of spring training. We already have some of those guys already built up, prepared for those. There's batting practice. Altuve is working left field, taking some ground balls. Jordan, he's been there for almost 2 months, getting ready. His knee feels phenomenal. So it's that energy of the excitement, and you start talking about expectations. I start talking to some of those guys about roles, and some of the young players being around some of the veterans, what it's like going to the first major league spring training. What is it like? We get kids all the way from rookie level who live in Houston, who we open the doors for them to come in and be part of the workouts, and our players engage with them, and they embrace them as like they know each other for a very long time. So the dynamic is great, and it's my favorite part of leading into spring training, because there's a lot of good feedback that you get from the guys. Everybody's in a great mood. You feel like the guys are ready to start playing like tomorrow. So it opens the door for some really good conversations. So, it's in a matter of days, you guys will see some of that excitement when those guys take the field.
Joe, we were debating yesterday with Josh Reddick, and you seem like the perfect person to ask. I was wondering if Altuve has his own outfield glove yet, or if he was borrowing it. Do you know whose was he using out there?
Yeah, he's actually using Jordan's right now, because the one he has is not broken in yet. So he's been using Jordan's. So
okay, that's good. That was our investigative journalism.
Yeah. It's he's doing a pretty good job. It's been fun, getting him, getting the work in, and seeing if that's something that we can explore and be a weapon for us this season. So we'll see how it goes the next couple of weeks.
What lessons did you learn from your first spring training as a manager, that some changes maybe that you wanted to make this year, something that you really wanted to focus on, something that went really well? Like, how do you feel better prepared this year than maybe last year?
You know what? I thought it's like, when it comes like spring training specific, I thought we had a really good spring training last year. For me, the toughest part was handing the keys to the preparation to Jason Bell and Omar, delegating those responsibilities, getting the day-to-day things like planned. And I've been around. They've been around me for a couple of years, so they kind of know how I like spring training to be run. But I think they did a really good job. This year we have some younger players in camp who are going to be competing for some jobs. So we're going to spend a little bit more time on some fundamentals early. I'm going to give those young players some playing time early. You're going to see some players playing back-to-back days right away. I'm asking them to come in ready to compete from day one because I want to give them significant amount of at-bats for us to evaluate them. So you guys are going to see that, but it's going to be a little bit, attention to small details. That's something that I think, for us to sustain winning. When we're a really good team, we do small things really well, offensively, defensively, on the pitching side. So I was able to write some things down during the season that I think I, as a manager, I could do a better job emphasizing those things during spring training.
Joe, you and I talked about this last year. You're a big journaler. You keep a journal. You write every day. I guess as this offseason kind of settled in and you moved away from the wild card series, did you go back and read that? And how much did you kind of take away from your first year as a major league manager? Maybe that when you had time to decompress and sit down and kind of really think about it from April to October.
Yeah, so there was when I keep my journal there, I have a little bookmark in certain areas by color, some red, blue, white, red meaning, things were heated and emotionally more than what would happen on the field. There was moments where we were playing well and I was still trying to, emotionally keep myself, moving forward. So it's not so much how things were going on the baseball field. It's just more, how can I control my emotions? How can I help my players control their emotions? So I kind of cut those, bookmark, and then I like to go back and read it. Things that I do that day, or a Bible verse that I wrote that day that helped me get through some tough moments. Conversation with players that were key, they were impactful, that I think turned things around. I do a little check mark. This is something I could do moving forward, something that it worked out well for me, between me and that player. So I do all, I like doing those things. It helps me turn the page, but also going back and make changes, make adjustment, for me moving forward, for me to build my, put myself in better position moving forward.
I think a lot of fans see the role of a manager. Like they look at your in-game decisions. They look at when you take the starter out, when you pinch hit, things like that, the tactical decisions. But and you can tell me if I'm right or wrong on this, but I think the job of a modern manager is so much more about communication and keeping in touch with your players. And Mike, what I wondered this offseason, there's a lot of stuff that went on this offseason just in terms of transactions that I don't think we would have thought was going to happen when the season ended in November, whether it was, trading Kyle Tucker, it was trading Ryan Presley, it was signing Christian Wall. Like, I guess how much are the players maybe contacting you in the offseason to kind of say, hey, Joe, what's going on here? And what were those conversations like when two big pieces of the clubhouse, and Kyle Tucker and Ryan Presley, you guys had to move on from them? Yeah.
So, the first part of your question about, like the fans and questioning my moves, decisions I make. And that's part of it, right? That's the part they see every day. And that's what they pay for when they go to the ballpark, is to watch their team play, right? And watch the team play and win. So if their team is not winning, I understand that it's my responsibility. I'm going to take some of that heat because I'm the one who's writing the lineup. I'm making some of those decisions. For me, I'll look at it more. I want to make sure the players understand the position that I'm in, making those decisions, why I make those decisions. Being in a position of leadership, being the manager, sometimes you're going to make this tough decisions on people that you care about. I care about all my players. But as the manager, I'm going to make decisions that they might not like. But my door is always open. We always talk about them. We have some heated discussion, and that's fine. That's welcome. In a healthy family, in a healthy relationship, there's going to be days where you're going to have those back and forth. And I've seen this team I've been around them for 8 years, and it has happened with every manager because these players are passionate and they want to win. So I knew coming into this job that just because it's me and I've been here longer than other coaches, that things were going to be different. No, I never expect that to be the case. I knew that that's their That's their character and that's their personality. So I knew it was going to happen. I just knew how to absorb that conversation when he came that way, because I built some relationship with some of those players. And, when it comes to conversation with the players when we're making those moves, absolutely. These players are, they're a family. These players, they play with each other for so long that they don't want any of them to ever go away. But they also recognize that it's going to happen. We have had incredible players. You mentioned Josh Reddick in the beginning of our conversation. Carlos Correa, one of the best players I've ever coached. This guy was a leader on the field. This guy, he thought as he think as a GM. He was he's super smart. Like when he left, there was a void left in our clubhouse. Yuli Gurriel, George Springer, all these great players have left the club, and our players understand that's going to happen. We were a good team then, and we're still a good team now. So they know that when that happens, opportunities open up for some of the younger players. And happened. Carlos left. Here comes Jeremy. Reddick, Springer. Here comes Tucker. Here comes to Jake Myers. Like, we have this next wave of players that have able to produce and play well on major league level for us to continue this success. But absolutely, phone calls, text messages in the middle of the night. I go to the stadium. What's going on? That's the first thing they ask me. Where are we with Breggy? Where are we with this guy? This rumor's real. Chandler Rome is tweeting this. Is that true? And I'm like, listen, I can, and I try to give them, information that as the manager I could give them. There's other stuff that discussions that we have in the front office with that I must keep that to myself. But I try to be transparent and honest with them, because they know that at the end of the day, we're all on this together.
Yeah, you mentioned, with kind of some voids there that, the Astros organization has seen waves of young players coming in, and it feels like this year, this is a time for another wave of young players coming in, whether it's, Cam Smith, right, or Bryce Matthews or Zach DeZenzo or whoever. But as you're kind of prepping for the year, you're thinking about spring training and then the roster that you're going to build out. Like, who are you looking at? Who are you really excited about that you've got really high expectations for this season?
So, those three names you mentioned, they'll get opportunities to play a lot early in camp. And we expect those guys, they're really close. You mentioned Ken Smith. We love his potential. I think this guy's got an opportunity to be an all-star for many, many years. Same thing with Bryce, DeCenzo, Melton. We have pieces that can turn into that next wave of players that could sustain, and can allow us to continue to move forward and be smart about how we attack free agency and how we use our financial means to maintain this group to maintain winning together for a long time. So we need player development. I think for me, player development is the foundation of a successful organization. It's player development. Like, if you get these players coming and you get them in a winning culture and they know, okay, it's my turn, here we go. That's how we've done it since I've been here. So it's imperative that we continue to have this discussion, front office, the coaching staff, me with the players, give them opportunities so we can really have an opportunity to evaluate these players. This year, it's my first year in manager, right? I'm trying to win as many games as possible. First 45, 50 games did not go as planned. So I find myself where, here comes kids from AA, kids who were not, I'm not going to say they were ready, but they were not on our radar yet. We knew that they were a year or two away, but here they come. And I'm like, oh my goodness. Okay. I'm digging video. I'm trying to get to know some individuals because I did not expect them to be there. So that's an adjustment that I'll make this year where, You have your A group and there's the potential if, something happened to that second tier of prospects are coming. Let me make sure that I dive in case an emergency happens to a pitcher, a reliever, or an infielder. This is my next wave. So let me go and get to know this kid a little bit more during spring training. Let me go down to the minor league side and get to know some of these guys. Let me watch some more videos. So that's something that I have made that adjustment. So, hopefully it doesn't happen again. But if it does, I'd be in a better spot to make decisions and put those players in a position for them that could be the best versions of themselves.
You went down to Puerto Rico to see two of the three guys we just talked about, Zach DeCenzo and Bryce Matthews. Two kind of specifics on them. Bryce, we had Bryce on our podcast a couple of weeks ago, and he's a great kid, great to talk to. Really enjoyed the conversation we had with him. Defensively, where do you project him maybe at the next level defensively? I know he played a couple different places in the minor leagues and in Puerto Rico. And then Zach DeCenzo, obviously left field's a place where you guys are going to probably have to cycle through some guys. How did he look in the outfield? And do you think that's a place where he can contribute at the big league level next year?
Yeah. So, I took a trip to Puerto Rico and, got a chance to watch those two kids. I was there for 4 days and they play really well. DeCenzo play some left field and first base. DeCenzo in spring training will be getting some playing time in both corners, left field and right. Super athletic. I think he's got the ability to do it. So we are going to explore this possibility of him playing the corner outfields for us. He's also going to be, playing some first base. I don't want to abandon that ability for him to play multiple positions because he's capable of doing those things. So I really love the bat. I love the makeup of this kid. Super athletic, so I'm excited about what Zach can do for this team this year. When it comes to Bryce, you're right. He's a terrific kid, super humble, he's great to talk to. He's so talented. He's so toolsy that it's hard to say, okay, he's going to end up being here. He's going to end up playing there because we just don't know. He did play some really good second base in Puerto Rico. That was exciting because when I saw him, it felt like, okay, he that's home. Like he landed in a place where he was comfortable. He moved around with confidence, and he finished some plays where average to above average players might not be finishing in the big league levels. Like he's that athletic. But he also plays some third base. He played third base really well. So, right now I'm going to bring him in camp. I'm going to put him some second base. I'm going to keep him up the middle. But he's that tough one because he can do a lot of things on the baseball field. And, if the bat comes around, he's someone who's also knocking on the door.
I've laid my eyes on both of those guys, like watched them play. So I have kind of a vision of what they look like. I've never seen Cam Smith play baseball. I've only seen videos, and I don't know if you saw the picture he took with Kyle. He trains with Kyle Tucker in the off season. They took a picture a couple weeks ago, and it kind of went viral. Tucker is not a small guy, and Cam Smith is like he is a big dude.
Yeah.
Like, can you kind of, what you've seen of him, how does he move for that size? And can you kind of just give us a scouting report on what you guys have here in Cam Smith?
Well, I have talked to him over the phone a few times. I've seen those videos, and we get a few more from him doing the workouts on our channel. So, he's got potential to be, one of those, this guy can carry your team for years. He's got that potential, right? I like to be careful how I work this because I don't want him, coming into camp thinking that this got to happen tomorrow. No, Cam Smith is going to let us know when he's ready to be the guy, right? But he can play. He could play third base. I think he's athletic enough to play corner outfields. But right now he's going to come in. I'm going to play him at third because that's his natural position. he moves so well for a guy his size that's why, you just don't know, right, where he's going to end up, because he's going to tell you there's so much potential that I think we just got to go slow and let him tell us where he's going to end up. But the bat is special. It's right center field power. This guy knows the zone. He's, my conversation with you could hear the humility and how genuine he is about wanting to be part of, the Astros organization. And, his agent is same Tucker agent. So there's all these things that I'm like, you know what? It'd be nice if this guy just turned out just to be like a Kyle Tucker, passing the baton to these young kids when it comes to, production. And, but I don't want us to be all the Ken Smith, because, we want to give an opportunity for him to develop. It's not a finished product. And I make that very clear with him. Just, we're just going to go into spring training, and I'm going to give you opportunities to play and relax and go show us what we fell in love with, right?
Yeah, there's going to be a couple new guys that fans are going to see every day in the lineup too, in the infield, right? With Isaac Paredes and Christian Walker. I know we're about to go to spring training where you're going to be able to see them every day, but what do you like about those guys? How do you think they're going to, change the makeup of the team and the lineup this year?
I immediately, when we acquire, when we sign Walker and Paredes, I immediately go to, their bat in our ballpark. It's made for Minute Maid, right? Their pull power, how hard they hit the ball in the air. I also like the fact that they see a ton of pitches. They're not early swingers. They have a pretty good idea of what a quality at bat looks like. And in the beginning of our season, we kind of got away from that, and it took us a while to get going. But when we are a dynamic, elite offense, we beat you in different multiple ways, right? We can walk. We can hit for power. We could, grind our bats and we can get a base hit. I felt like we got down early in the year in the record, and we were trying to do too much, trying to get down in the game early in runs, and we were trying to do way too much, and we got away from our identity, who we are, what makes us great. But these two guys fit right in on our style, right? And we see pitches, we hit this ball hard, passing the baton mentality. I think these two guys are capable of doing that. And, also like Walker's defense, I don't think, I know everybody's aware of how good his defense has been for years. But I remember when we had that big run, we're winning all those championship series, World Series. We had a Gold Glove first baseman in Yuli, and how much better he made everyone around the infield. You could just catch the ball and just throw it over there, because he's just going to make you that much better. Right now, 4 of our 5 starters are righties. So there's going to be this lefty heavy lineup creation against some of our righties. So having that right side of the infield sealed with Walker is important, right? So that's one of the reasons why bringing like a coach like Tony Perichica, who's an incredible infield instructor, just a different voice, just to make sure that we're not losing anything when it comes to paying attention to details when it comes to our defense. And I think he was also another good addition for our club.
This sounds odd when, as of this recording, you do not have the Gold Glove third baseman on your roster that you had last year. Who knows? Yeah. That could change. By the time you hear this, that could change. Who knows? Right. Do you feel maybe better about your defensive infield as it is constructed right now than maybe you did last year, even with losing or perhaps losing a Gold Glove third baseman?
Yeah, you're right. It would be great if I'm landing there Monday and I go in my office and I'm drawing my lineups but like you said, you never know, right? So we'll see what happens. But I do feel better because of the pieces that I have and some of the young kids that we're going to bring to camp, who are, in case something happens, like our infield depth is actually pretty good. Like we signed some guys free agent that I feel like, something happens to an Altuve or Pena, Paredes, or Walker. Like we do have pieces that we can, hold us together defensively. So, but yeah, I do feel pretty good going to camp right now with the guys that we have, penciled in our lineup.
I wanted to ask you about Pena real quick, not about his defense, because his aside from about that 2-week stretch last year where he was going through it, his defense has remained elite.
Yes.
Everyone kind of saw what he did as a rookie, right? I mean, he did things that were unprecedented and perhaps set an expectation maybe publicly that when you win the World Series MVP as a rookie, it's really hard to live up to that expectation going. And it's not as if he's been a disappointment by any means. But I wonder kind of, he hit 25 homers as a rookie and he's had 22 in the last 2 seasons.
Mm-hmm.
The slug has not been where it was as a rookie. But the at-bats have looked better. He's swinging at better pitches. He's not chasing a ton of sliders. You see the maturation there, even if it's not translating to maybe the slug or maybe the batting average or the OPS. Where are you looking for him to maybe take the next step offensively? Or are you okay with kind of the path he's traveling in his offensive game?
You know what? I think you said a couple of things that I think are the game-changing aspect of his maturity, which is for me is about approach. I think he's still learning his swing, and every player goes through this the first 3 or 4 years of the big leagues. They're trying to adjust, learning their body, how the body moves, and the pitchers are making adjustment to him. You got to make adjustments. So for me, I think he's in the right path. I think if he continues to lay off the sliders, being on time with fastballs, I think he swings sometimes because there's some movement. If he can continue to simplify and find a spot where he can start his swing and repeat it for months instead of, I got it for 2 weeks and then all of a sudden doesn't feel right, and then it takes him a little bit longer to get back in there. But he's finding his rhythm. I think it's off season. He's starting to make adjustments where he understands. We have conversation with him about this is what 2024 looked like. This is what 2025 should look like if you make, those adjustments. The key for Pena, he's so coachable. He's someone that listens, and I think eventually it's going to happen. I was actually talking to someone the other day, and they asked me, who's going to be that player that you pick is going to have like I could see who's like you pick to click. And for me is I told the person Jeremy Pena, because I think he's the next guy that I also see stepping up and being kind of the vocal leader in our club. He's that guy that when we are doing our meetings or we walking around the clubhouse, he wants to be the guy, but he sees the Breckmans and he sees the other guys who's been there longer. But I think if Breckman does not return, I could see Jeremy being a little bit more of like, hey, maybe we try to do this because he's done it. But I think you could probably see him kind of taking that next step forward in that leadership role in the clubhouse. And it'd be phenomenal because, that shortstop, middle infielder usually are the ones who have that personality, and is in there. So I could see him being that dude this year where he's having a monster year on the field, and also we're talking about having conversations about, conversation he's had with some of the players, or standing up and having like a little team meeting, So I could see Jeremy being that guy.
You make a lot of difficult decisions every day, but I think if I'm just looking at the roster you have, I think next year maybe one of the more difficult ones you'll have early in the year is how to configure your outfield on a daily basis. We've obviously we've litigated the Altuve left field stuff enough. I guess I'm more fascinated by Chaz and Jake, what they need to do to take the next step to really solidify a spot. And with that, how much is Jacob Melton knocking on the door to maybe provide some pressure or some competition there?
Yeah, you know what? I think that it's consistency. I think those guys, they show what they're capable of doing for Spurs, and he's in there. I just want him just to be more consistent when it comes to offensive approach. And if they do that, you could see solid production out of those guys for, throughout the whole entire season. So it's just a matter of just, confidence, making the adjustments that we ask them to do this offseason. And if they do, getting the chance that we saw in 22 and 23, it's super important for our club.
Yeah. And then, finally you mentioned, those in-game decisions where, even though that's not the majority of what you do as a manager, it does play a huge role kind of in game, right? And the bullpen's going to look different this year too. You've got, kind of your back end of the bullpen solidified, but as you're looking to this year, who are the guys that you're, outside of, Hader and Abreu that you're really looking and needing to rely on in the bullpen? So, how do you configure that kind of going into the year?
Well, those guys, they'll get some opportunities in spring training. Guys who've done it last year, like Taylor Scott, he has some big innings for us last year. He's a guy that I trust him in high leverage spot. Brian King, I thought he threw the ball really, really well. He's going to be also getting some good looks. And for me, the guy that I'm excited about, and he's been coming here to the stadium the last couple of weeks, it's Forrest Whitley. His arm looks really good, and hopefully he's ready and he's able to showcase and perform the way we've been seeing him, view him for the last couple of years. So we'll get a good look at those young kids in spring training, but they're all going to have to step up and get the ball in some big spots because we needed to step up. It's time for them to do take that role and help us win some games.
Forrest Whitley is one of the very few people coming into camp that predate you in this in this organization. He was here before you were. Joe, one final one before we sign off, because Tyler and I were talking about this on a previous episode, and when everything about Altuve being willing to change positions came out, we talked about, Tyler and I, that Altuve is in an echelon where he could very easily just say, you know what, I'm not moving off second base. He could point to the 9 all-star teams, to the MVP, to everything he has done for this city, for this franchise. And he could, for lack of a better word, be a diva. He could say, that's my position, I'm not moving off. But we talked about it, and he's probably the most team-first athlete I think I've ever been around. And Joe, you've been around a lot more. I mean, you worked in New York for a long time. You've been in a lot of organizations, been around a lot of different people. How accurate is that? Like, how team first is Jose Altuve, and how rare is that from a guy that has accomplished as much as he has accomplished and made as much money as he has made?
Yeah, and people don't. Yeah, and people don't talk about that. For me, I turn the TV on and I listen to some of the reporting going on in some of these networks and stuff, and suggesting that Altuve should not be doing this, he should not be doing that. He's a Hall of Fame player. He's doing, and they're not in one of those comments. They think about the team, like he's doing this for the team. Altuve, he is a Hall of Famer, but he wants to be known, and he wants to go down, want to finish his career on a winning club. So he's like, Joe, I'll do it if he's going to help us win. So that right there just tells you the character and the individual and the leadership of Jose Altuve, so I, seeing it, I'm not surprised by it. But yeah, like he could have easily said, Joe, you know what? I don't think it's a good idea. I don't think this is what's best for me, and I'm not going to do it. But before we kicked the tires on this, we sat down with him and said, Jose, what do you think about possibility of playing some outfield and opening, second base, to getting some guys in there, some playing time, not having Jordan in left field for 50, 60 games. And he's like, hey, Joe, if that's what makes us better, I'm all in. So we're down that path, and we'll see how it goes.
He did. The season hasn't even started yet, but he did probably deliver the best quote of the season at FanFest when a reporter asked him if he had ever played outfield before, and he just looked back and goes, "Have you seen me?"
Yeah. I saw that, and who asked that question?
I did not. It was not me. It was not me. It was. I don't know who. It was someone standing behind me, so I didn't turn around and look. But he handled it. He handled it great. He doesn't show it a lot, but he's pretty funny.
Yeah, no, he is. He's got a sense of humor. He also got a little red eyes in him too. You don't want to see him get pissed off. He's got a little bit of anger to his personality when he dislikes something or something happens that it tipped him off. He's got a little bit of anger in him.
Well, hopefully that doesn't manifest itself this year. Hopefully it's a better start, and hopefully you guys don't have to see Jose Altuve's red ass come out. But again, we really appreciate you taking some time to be with us. We know this is such a busy time of year for you, and safe travels to West Palm Beach, where I will see you on Tuesday, I believe. I know you're excited about that. So again, thank you to everybody that's watching, listening. Please rate and review us on Apple. Please subscribe on YouTube. We will be back next week. Like I said, we'll be in West Palm Beach, Florida, with pitchers and catchers reporting on Wednesday and their first workout on Thursday. Thanks, guys.
Bye. Thank you. Appreciate it.